All right, guys, I'm going to talk to you about relationships one last time. One of my favorite areas within social psychology is relationships, really of any kind, but I particularly enjoy talking about romantic relationships. So let's start with the basics. How is attraction formed? The first aspect is a pretty basic one. We need to be exposed to the person that we find attractive. Proximity, or being geographically close to someone, is the most powerful predictor of friendship. When you sit down on the first day of class, the person you sit next to is likely to be a total stranger. But by the end of the semester, you two might be best buds or even romantic partners. Proximity helps us like people, in part due to the mere exposure effect. So repeated exposure to novel stimuli increases our liking. Evolution may play a role in this. What was familiar to our ancestors was generally safe and approachable. What was unfamiliar may have seemed dangerous. No face is more familiar than our own, which leads to an interesting finding. Have you ever met a couple that looked really similar to one another? Maybe you even mistook them for siblings. Well, we tend to like other people when their faces incorporate some morphed feature of our own. We even trust this person more. Because of this, it isn't all that surprising that sometimes couples look eerily similar to one another. As much as we might want to believe that we care most about a person's personality, looks tend to be a big part of what influences whom we find attractive, at least initially. Physical attractiveness predicts how often a person dates and how popular they are, and it affects our initial impressions of a person's personality. We also view attractive people as healthier, happier, more sensitive, more successful, and more socially skilled. Viewing attractive people as having overall great qualities is a great example of another social psych phenomenon called the halo effect. So physical attractiveness can also be influenced by our feelings toward a person. If we like a person's personality, they'll become more physically attractive to us. All right, I'm about to debunk an age-old myth. Unless you're a magnet, then opposites don't attract. Opposites actually tend to retract when it comes to romantic attraction. Now, that doesn't mean that because you're a morning person and your partner is a night owl, it'll never work, or that an introvert and an extrovert could never fall in love. What is really important in terms of similarity is that we share things like attitudes, beliefs, and interests. We likely wouldn't find a lasting relationship with somebody who had totally different views on education, politics, or family values. Partners are typically similar in age, religion, race, education, intelligence, smoking behaviors, and economic status. Okay, so let's say that you found someone that you're attracted to, and you're on the path to starting a relationship with them. The first stage of love that you'll likely experience is called passionate love. Passionate love is an aroused state of intensive, positive absorption of another. You're probably thinking about this person all the time. You want to see them as much as possible, and seeing this person makes a part of your brain associated with craving and obsession more stimulated than usual. We might experience surges of adrenaline when we see that person. With time, passionate love can grow less intense. As your love for this person grows, you'll likely enter a steadier stage of love called companionate love. This is a deep, affectionate attachment. We might experience less dopamine and adrenaline around this person, but we'll still experience the hormone oxytocin, which is associated with feelings of trust, calmness, and bonding. Your textbook has a few recommendations for developing gratifying relationships that are worth noting. The first is equity. This is when both partners receive in proportion to what they give. For example, in an equitable relationship, both members of the partnership might give and receive emotional support. They might promote and care for each other's welfare. They might make decisions together. They might share chores. When equity exists, the chances of sustained and satisfying companionate love are good. Self-disclosure is another important factor. This is when we reveal intimate details about ourselves to another. This might be things like our likes and dislikes, our dreams for the future, our worries, and our most proud and shameful moments. It requires a bit of vulnerability to self-disclose with a partner, but self-disclosure helps us develop deeper levels of intimacy. The last recommendation your textbook gives is to provide positive support. When we experience conflict in our relationships, we need to try our best to provide support and empathy. Happy couples tend to have more positive interactions, like compliments, touches, and laughter. So it's worthwhile to try and include more of those interactions within our relationships.